Tonight, the mayor's bad news budget. New taxes he's proposing to close a $1.15 billion gap, and whether city council will buy in. A ceasefire between Gaza and Israel is in motion. Will it last? We hear from a Palestinian scholar who says the activists are getting it wrong. And the 5 underrated Chicago buildings you have to see at this weekend's free Open House Chicago event. A tour of all the city's great places and spaces. And welcome to the Chicago Report. I'm Paris Schutz. Corporate head taxes, social media taxes, it's all part of the stew to help the city out of a $1.15 billion budget hole. And today, Mayor Brandon Johnson gave his budget address at City Council, vowing to hold the line on city services amid what he says are hundreds of millions in cuts coming from the Trump-led federal government.
The Trump cuts to public health, the cuts to public safety, to Medicaid, to SNAP, to services that address homelessness and drug addiction, his cuts to violence prevention, his cuts to public education and transportation. This is not rhetoric, this is a reality.
And some of these highlights of the $16.6 billion budget, a $25 corporate head tax that would cost $25 million in corporate head tax would cost $21 per employee per month for companies with more than 100 employees. $333 million in new taxes on cloud computing, $65 million in expanded rideshare congestion-free pricing, and $31 million in a first-of-its-kind social media tax. A lot to unpack here. There's other stuff in this budget we know, but Alderman Irvin, that head tax, the corporate head tax, the business community really pushing back on that. Is this something that's going to discourage a business in Chicago?
I don't think it's going to discourage business in Chicago. I mean, Chicago is a great city. It's a world-class city, as I was just reading through some of the documents in our budget books. And I think that beyond just the small investment, I think that some of our largest corporate partners can make to help make Chicago a greater place. But
this is companies with over 100 employees. Bill Conway, it was done away with under the Emanuel administration. Is it right to bring this back?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about this. I mean, if we're going to get through our fiscal situation, we really need to make sure that we're growing the size of the city. And the things that are going to prevent the city from growing is lack of a housing growth and lack of jobs growth. And by adding a tax on those who are actually creating jobs, I think doesn't make a lot of sense.
Jason Irvin, also the cloud computing tax. This is a big chunk of money on these big warehouses that store the cloud computers. How would this work?
Again, we implemented this last year, and the rate was raised at 11%. This year it goes to 14%. And it's actually been a newfound source of revenue related to cloud computing and all of those things that are going on. Again, we're talking about huge corporations that are providing these services and not really participating from an equity perspective in what's going on in our city. Again, they're making trillions of dollars, but yet not leaving anything behind for the citizens of Chicago.
Couldn't they say, well, you know, we're going to locate our big storage facility or warehouse on the outskirts of the city?
Again, Chicago is a world-class city, and people want to be in the city of Chicago. Yes, we have challenges, but at the end of the day, when you look at our museums, our lakefronts, our parks, all of the amenities of Chicago, taxes are somewhere 5th, 6th, or 7th in the listing of things that businesses are looking for when they want to locate somewhere.
Bill Conway, what about that cloud computing? Do you think that's a responsible source of revenue?
Well, you have, I mean, just as my colleague said, that's largely going to hit huge corporations, and the head tax is going to hit big corporations as well. So having that double whammy there, I worry is going to be is going to hurt us from our ability to create jobs. In fact, may make jobs leave.
All right. So how does this social media tax work? Tax on companies like TikTok or Facebook?
It's based on the number of users from Chicago in a particular social media platform, with the first 100,000 members of that group being exempted from that particular tax. So it was 50 cents per month per person over 100,000.
Alderman Conway, same question.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to go? And you're not getting that much money here.
Well,
out of a $1.15 billion hole, it's giving you about 30-some million.
I understand why this will be wildly popular with people. You know, we look at social media companies, and they've become platforms of hate and misinformation. But my concern of that is that this is going to be federally preempted in a way. I mean, there's a reason no other municipality has this. And I'm concerned that due to the constitutional commerce clause or otherwise, that this is not something that's going to be legal. And we can't balance our budget on some kind of hope and a prayer in that department.
Alderman Irvin, are there enough cuts or efficiencies in this budget, given the fact that, the amount of the city budget has grown year after year?
I know the amount has grown. However, salaries have grown. Other things have increased as well. I do believe we can definitely do a little more on the efficiency side. However, when we ask our constituents about service cuts or changes in services or slowdowns in services, it's this phrase I always say, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And unfortunately, we have to figure out a way to fund government, but at the same time, we must be efficient in how we deliver services.
Alderman Conway, I know the mayor last year wanted collaboration on this, $1.15 billion. If some of these business taxes aren't the way to go, then how do you fight your way?
Yeah, as I look at what do we need to be doing as a city, I talked about how do we grow the size of the city, mentioned job growth. And when I look at housing growth, what really concerns me is the amount of red tape that exists when we're looking at housing. I mean, if you want to build a major development in the city of Chicago, you have to go to the Department of Planning and Development, Department of Buildings, potentially Department of Housing, Zoning Board of Appeals, Permit Review Committee, Zoning Committee.
A little bit of red tape there.
A little bit of red tape,
red tape.
So I am concerned that places to streamline would be in that area specifically, especially because it's something that is preventing housing growth from happening.
We know, Alderman Irvin, there's been no appetite to raise property taxes. Last year, a proposal got basically voted down 50-0. It was just completely undefeated. So is there appetite for some of these taxes, you think, among your colleagues to get to 26 votes?
Well, I know there has to be some appetite for some revenue. Again, people have said they don't want a grocery tax, they don't want property taxes, they want the garbage fee to increase. But at the same time, people are saying they want the level of service to stay the same. So I think we're stuck between a rock and a hard place as relates on the revenue side. But again, these are revenue sources. We talk about the head tax, which is designed to work with violence prevention and things in our public safety sphere, as well as the social media tax, which is designed to focus on mental health, because we find that a lot of individuals with social media find themselves in some precarious mental health situations. So everything is purposed in the right direction where it needs to be. And again, that is the biggest gripe amongst some of our corporate partners about public safety, where here's an opportunity for those individuals who are talking about public safety in a grand way to put something in the game to help us deal with it.
Speaking of public safety, there was a lot of rumors that maybe there would be some big CPD cuts. What does the budget do for CPD?
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of that in there, but I will say, this is the budget book. We've
Go ahead and hold
received
it up.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of trees went into this. So between these two things, haven't had a chance to look at that or digest it fully yet. But there wasn't a lot of talk about that I
actually there aren't the level of cuts that people thought would be at CPD. Again, the vacancies are being funded at a much lower level to recoup some of the funding. I think it was around $30 million. The biggest part that we're going to see in this is the overtime adjustment, whereby the runaway train of CPD overtime is over. And again, we need the department, as we talk about efficiencies, to better manage the resources they have. There's no longer a blank check for the Chicago Police Department on overtime. Again, we want people to manage effectively so that they can deliver the service to the taxpayers.
Those overtime costs have really gone up. All right, so you got the next couple months to deliberate, debate this. Alderman William Conway and Jason Irvin, thanks for giving us the skinny today.
Thanks for having us.
On a non-skinny budget.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, and when we come back, we've got the latest on a tenuous ceasefire in Gaza and Israel. Stay with us.